Hi everyone, my name's Harvey, and in today's video, here are 5 things that you should never do in a job interview. Let's get straight into it. The first point is to not be over-friendly. This is so important in an interview setting. With this, I don't mean to be robotic or devoid of personality. I just be very careful using over-friendly terminology such as mate or pal. I'm guilty of saying mate a lot, and it's quite tough to hone it in an interview. Friendliness during an interview is very important. You want to be seen as approachable and someone who would be easy to work with, but there is a fine line between being friendly and over-friendly. With over-friendliness, you risk being seen as overconfident and dismissive of the professional aspect of the interview. You might have the oddly specific question in your head right now, Harvey, what if I'm already in a company and I'm interviewing for another job within a different department or a promotion? To this, I'd still say, please be careful of being overly friendly with interviewers. I know this is difficult because by this point you'll probably have a relationship with the interviewers already, but still remember that it is a professional assessment. They are sounding you out and they're sounding out your credibility and your professionalism. Friendliness is always good, but just don't overdo it. Number 2, and I've talked about this briefly on this channel, is to not badmouth your previous or current employers/colleagues. It's really easy to do in an interview. When the nerves come, you might start to word vomit, but please do not say anything bad about the role in which you're already working. It could be the worst place ever, that's why you're looking to interview elsewhere, but please make sure you find the positive thing to still say about that employer or your colleagues. Talking badly about others during an interview could raise concerns for the interviewers. They may think, if this is what you're saying now, what are you going to be saying down the line about us? And generally, it's just best practice to highlight the positives about your experience in another organization or the people you worked with. Another point on bad-mouthing a previous employer or some colleagues is that the interviewer may worry that they won't be able to secure a good reference for you from that employer. I do appreciate this is difficult. You could be in a position where you have an absolutely shocking manager and that's why you're wanting to leave. But being able to still find something positive to say will not only make you seem more professional, but it will also increase your credibility in that interview as well. The next point, and this is so important, when the interviewer at the end asks if you've got any questions about the organization or about the role, I'd always recommend that you come equipped with at least a few questions to ask in return. It will show that you're intrigued, it will show that you're enthusiastic about the organization and about the role, and you can really get some nice thought-provoking questions across at the end of your interview. Remember, an interview is a two-way street, okay? They're sounding you out, of course, but equally, you're sounding them out. Is it going to be a good fit for you employment-wise? Is it going to be a good career choice? Is it going to be somewhere you want to work? If you don't ask any questions, it can sometimes end the interview on quite an abrupt note and potentially show that you're not as engaged in the process. As a general rule of thumb, I'd ask questions about the culture in the organization, whether or not there's routes for progression, and that kind of stuff. On the subject of questions to ask at the end of the interview, that leads nicely into my next point. I'd always recommend that you don't talk about salary or you don't ask about salary or holiday entitlement or any of the perks unless you are asked by the interviewer if you're aware of the salary or what your salary expectations are. I appreciate this kind of goes against my previous point where I'm saying that it's a two-way street. I'd always recommend that you do get clarity on the salary and whether or not there's room for negotiation before accepting an offer. But if you ask about salary or the benefits as your first question in an interview, the interviewer might feel that your motivations behind joining that employer are less strong than other candidates. They may feel like, as it's your first question, that's your priority, and in the long term, your motivations are going to change. A big part of a hiring manager's decision making relies on what your motivations are behind joining the employer. Are you someone who's going to stick around in the long term, or are you someone who's looking for a quick pay rise to then jump onto the next opportunity? If you are, no judgment whatsoever. That's probably a good thing in today's market, but at the same time, you need to make yourself seem like you're there for the long run and you're committed to giving back to this employer if they hire you. If you can showcase that you're going to be there for the long term, you're interested in progression within that organization, it's going to give them that reassurance really when they're coming to decide. They really don't want someone who's going to take the job and then leave within 6 months because rehiring is very costly to a business. My final point is to never overshare. This one again relates to being too comfortable in an interview, but you've got to be careful that you're not oversharing information when you are put on the spot in an interview. Especially if you work in professional services, you don't want to overshare on certain policies or certain processes that are in place at your current organisation, because the recruiter managers are going to be a little bit worried that if you're that kind of open about certain policies or certain information in this stage, what's going to happen going forward? Are you going to be quite careless with potentially sensitive information? It might just raise a few red flags. When oversharing as well, you're likely to step into the territory where you're overextending your answers, and a very, very, very lengthy answer that's not succinct and not focused will be off-putting to an interviewer that's assessing your responses. So that was 5 things that I would never do in an interview. I hope this has helped. If you're currently preparing for your interview coming up or a few interviews, I really hope they go well. Please do let me know in the comments if you are interviewing. If this video has helped, please do leave a like. It's greatly appreciated. Please subscribe if you're new for more careers content and more job seeking advice. And that's all from me. Have a good day. Take care. Bye-bye.